Hey, folks, I want to discuss an epiphany I had last night while watching a very interesting film. If you haven't seen The Accountant, it's really fascinating, especially if you or a loved one have any form of autism. It's a really interesting depiction of a man with autism in an action movie sort of setting. I'm not going to spoil any of it and I'm not getting paid to talk about it on this video, so just go watch it or don't, whatever. But in the movie, main character's got Asperger syndrome, and they bring up the author Lewis Carroll, or by his actual name, Charles Dodgson. He's most famous for writing the Alice in Wonderland books, hence why I'm rocking this awesome top hat, courtesy of my amazing girlfriend, Sarah. And there's a part in the movie where it admits that Charles Dodgson had Asperger syndrome. And it's funny to me because I actually did my senior thesis on Charles Dodgson. And at the time, I still hadn't been diagnosed. I knew a little bit of what autism was, and I had my mild suspicions that I might have it, but it just really wasn't on my radar. After finding out that I had it and after working through a lot of the difficulties that I've had with it in order to be a more functional member of society, and then watching this movie and having this big reminder that Charles Dodgson, or Lewis Carroll, whichever one you want to call him, had Asperger syndrome, it really got me to thinking about why I've always connected so much with Alice in Wonderland. I honestly believe that I resonated so much with Alice in Wonderland because after last night and being reminded that Charles Dodgson had Asperger syndrome, I think, whether it was intentional or not, I think he subconsciously wrote that story as an allegory to his experience being an autistic person living in a primarily neurotypical world. Think about it. Alice goes down this rabbit hole. She gets dumped off into this world that makes absolutely no sense. It's inhabited by all these different weird creatures that have their own little languages and customs, and she's trying to learn this one, and by the time she starts to halfway learn this one creature, then this other one pops up. It's constantly confusing to her. She's constantly trying to make sense of it. She is always demanding the logical reasoning for all the stuff that happens around her. And she never gets any answers. Everything just keeps getting more and more ridiculous as it goes. She's getting frustrated and she's still confused. And the whole time, the Cheshire Cat is just trolling her left and right. And as you see throughout the story, Alice is pretty irritated and angry until she goes back home. The moral of the story with Alice in Wonderland, and yeah, I know people are going to say it's just a fun, silly story or whatever. Even Dodgson himself says that. That's how he wasn't aware of what was going on up in the subconscious. But the real moral of that story is this world we live in, especially from the perspective of a person with autism, or I guess you can apply it to a lot of other different perspectives, some uncommon perspective that's not the norm or the general or whatever, is this world is very nonsensical. There's a lot of things that don't make sense, and it's usually always very inconsistent. And if you don't have the right attitude toward things, it can be very frustrating, confusing, and irritating. And if you spend all your time just trying to make sense of it, you're just going to be mad and irritated constantly. The trick is to take the absurdist route and understand that, yeah, this stuff doesn't make sense. When it does make sense, you can kind of make some good judgment calls here and there, some predictions. But above all, stay lighthearted, stay happy, and enjoy yourself while also being the best person that you can. And eventually you're going to come out of this rabbit hole and you're going to be back to home sweet home. But until then, folks, just remember, we're all mad here.